In this daily drop, I'm back to working out this idea of creating content in and around food. So let's go. All right, everybody, back in the barn. So happy I shot those back-to-back-to-back episodes last week because, quite honestly, while I basically never get sick, I was down for the count for 2.5, 3 days. Kind of snuck in a day late to do the live stream, and thank you everybody who showed up on Thursday instead of Wednesday. And now I'm back at trying to figure things out. Now, one of my episodes from last week, I was in my kitchen proper, and I was talking about the idea of creating content inside of that space. And while I would preferably use that space for content creation, I think that for practical reasons, not the least of which is the fact that I have 2 dogs in the house. There's an HVAC that kicks on and off. Winter's coming, so the heat's going to be going on, it's going to be going off, and then not just that stuff, but the outside noise. This is a much more treated space. It's a much better space in terms of it being controlled both from a sound and also a lighting standpoint. So I'm leaning towards using this space here. Now, the good thing about the barn is I do have running water, plumbing. I have a small refrigerator out here. So I am set up. It's not a full kitchen. And now the question is, do I go with this, which is a green screen, and start talking about creating a virtual set, or do I create a practical set? And, you know, there's advantages to both. Here, I'll turn on the green screen keyer inside of Ecamm Live, which is what I'm using today to both record and do everything inside of the in this episode. And the reason I'm doing that is because I can come into Ecamm Live in 4K. I can do everything in 4K, keep it that way, and then have a 4K output. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and turn on a silly little background here, which obviously from a lighting perspective is not exactly right. This is just a preview image I downloaded. I've scaled it up. Because I'm blurring it, it's not really a big deal. But if I went virtual, the question is, do I go virtual production and try to go down the route of having moving cameras with parallax in the background? Or do I just kind of lock it in the beginning and just have a background that is a fixed kitchen type of space? And the other thing I'm thinking about doing is, this is an induction cooktop. This is obviously just a single burner, but they make these with multiple burners. So it is quite doable to set up in a space like this and have what I would say is a lot more control over the production space when doing things. And definitely a different style of lighting, I think, for something like this show. And I would have to build out at least something related to a foreground set, which would probably be something like the table I have here, but seeing it in the shot along with the cooktop and all the other stuff, and then deciding how many cameras. It's very easy for me to set up an overhead camera right above me for that top-down shot. Easy for me to set up this, and I could easily set up a third camera. Really, the challenge there becomes the 4K component and making sure that I'm bringing in multiple 4K signals into something like Ecamm Live or another solution. And the downside to most of the switchers right now is the vast majority of them are still 1080. So if I want to keep everything at 4K, even if I'm not live streaming, but I'm just sort of putting the thing together, I'm going to have to figure that out. So this is where I am right now. I think that it's not a definite decision, but the practicality of shooting inside of this barn studio space makes a lot more sense than it does to do it inside of the house. While I love that kitchen and it will give me access to a lot of things, most of the time when you're creating content in and around food, it's pretty focused in terms of the utensils you're using, the cookware you're using, the ingredients you're using. So I think I just have to work that out. It also depends on the type of content that I'm trying to create. If I'm working with a lot of proteins and working with a lot of product that will need things like me to wash my hands all of the time and stuff like that, it's not just about having access to hot water and being able to, to do the things from a sanitary standpoint you need to do. From an audience's standpoint, if you are working with certain products that require you to clean not only your hands, but the space that you're using, there tends to be, at least from my perspective, something from an audience's standpoint where they want to see that happen, right? So if something occurs and they don't see the next step of I'm clean, I'm sanitizing, I'm taking care of this space and the safety of the food that I'm cooking or making, then that can be a problem. And that might be the gotcha inside of this space. But I do have plumbing. There are potential solutions. I'm still working this out and love to hear other people's thoughts on this. I have worked in what are called shooting kitchens. They're spaces where we rent the space and they have a movable island which is propane based, and they have running water and all of that kind of stuff. And I just have to decide how far I want to go with this. If I want to do small focus videos where nobody is in frame, it's just hands and putting things together, I think that's a lot different than talking to camera and actually going through the process of cooking food. So let's see where this thing goes. And again, love to hear your viewpoints on that. Which way am I going? I'm going here or here? Here. Okay. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.